So I'm going to try to show you a couple of things on how to test your hydraulic pump motor and your dual polarity solenoid. If you're having problems with either your Lippert 6-point hydraulic level up or if you have hydraulic slide outs and they're starting and stopping all the time, or if they won't work at all, with these two simple things, a multimeter, and it doesn't need to be a fluke meter like what I've got, and what you see here with the white cord, it's an old piece of electrical cord, was an old extension. I cut the ends off of it, and on one end of each end of it I have a black piece of tape that tells me that's my negative lead. And so we'll use this so that I can run a test wire from the dual polarity solenoid all the way over to where the Lippert level up panel is located at. And so what we're going to do is we're going to connect this negative lead that I've got marked to the dual polarity solenoid, and this is the negative terminal, and this lead runs down to the ground on the inside of the battery compartment box. And since I didn't happen to have a nice crimp-on terminal that I could use with an alligator clip, I've simply wrapped the other lead around the yellow wire. You'll see a yellow and a white wire. This is the extend side of the solenoid, and the extend side will either get a signal from the Lippert level up panel, or if I'm operating the hydraulic switch inside to move the slides, this will get power so that it opens the hydrac valve. That's the purpose of the extend side, and the retract side is to do two things. It changes the polarity of the motor so that the motor runs clockwise or counterclockwise. Plus, they've also piggybacked off of this so that the hydrac valves that need to open get a corresponding signal sent to them. Okay, so now I've run this temporary test lead with the electrical outlet cable that I made, and I have my multimeter wires, black lead hooked up to the negative, and that I marked with a piece of tape, and of course the red lead marked to the positive, which is installed on the retract side on the solenoid. And so you look at the meter right now, and we are set to DC volts, and we're not moving anything, and you notice that there is no voltage present. That's what we want to see, because nothing's operating. Okay, so we're going to turn on the Lippert panel, and we're going to go ahead and go into manual mode and hit enter, and we want to see what the voltage is doing when I retract the mid and rear levelers. And remember that we have connected the other ends of the lead that runs down here from the meter and runs across. We have connected those leads to the retract side of the solenoid. So what we want to do is we're going to measure the DC voltage as we retract these mid and rear leveler legs. So I'm going to start retracting these, and we can see that we are reading about 12.1 volts, nice and steady, and that's what we want to see. We drop down to about 11 volts, 11.9 volts, and the reason that we're dropping down that much is I've got about a 25-foot piece of wire running across here, but what we did see is nice consistent voltage the entire time that I retracted the mid and rear leveler legs. And now I'm just going to go ahead and retract the front landing gear just a little bit, and you can see there's 0 volts showing right now, and we'll retract those, and you were seeing a nice 12.2 to 12.3 volts. And we'll do this front landing gear again because I didn't get a real good video, and we're going to go ahead and retract the front landing gear, and you can see 12.5 volts, 12.4 volts, and you can see that the landing gear is going down, and we'll stop right at that point. We're not quite all the way bottomed out, and we're showing 0 volts. And so we know that the retract 12 volt signal to it for the mid and rear level legs, as well as the front landing gear level legs. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go around and change the connection on that dual polarity solenoid to the extend side. Okay, and we're looking at the dual polarity solenoid. I still have my black lead, which is my negative lead, attached to the center post on this white wire, which is my common ground. And I've moved this lead for the positive side, which was on the yellow wire over here, which was the retract side of the solenoid. I've now moved it to the left side where you see the green wires, and this will be for the extend side of the solenoid. And the way I have that piece of wire wrapped around there to make my electrical connection is not the best way. A better way would be if I had went and gotten a alligator clip and attached the wire on there so I have a good connection, but this will get the job done. Okay, so we still have the front landing gear retracted quite a bit. We've switched the leads over to the extend side of the solenoid. We're seeing 0 volts on the DC meter, and what we're going to do is manually raise the front landing gear, and we're going to take a look at this voltage as those front landing gear are extending, and we could see 12.35 volts as we extend them up. So that is a pretty good indication that we have no issues with the hydraulic pump motor or the dual polarity solenoid or my connections from the level up panel. Darn wind keeps blowing the door over, but we know that is good. So let's go ahead and run the mid and rear leveler legs down. It will extend those out, and we'll monitor the voltage again on the pump motor and solenoid, and we can get a good idea of what's going on if the wind will quit blowing my door closed on us. Okay, so now we're going to extend the mid and rear leveler legs, and as you can see, those are coming down. And we will extend those a little bit. We're reading about 12.5 volts, which is a good indication that we've got good power during the extend cycle on the mid and the rear leveler legs. Okay, so that shows you how to measure the mid and rear leveler legs as they're extending or retracting, and how to measure the front landing gear as it is extending or retracting simply by moving your multimeter connection either to the extend or retract side of the solenoid. And what we're going to do now is a quick auto level. We have the meter is still connected to the extend side, and so we're going to press auto level, and you can see that the jacks are grounding, and we will hopefully get a voltage indication here in a minute. There we go, 12.4 volts as the front started to come up, and the front's extending a little bit more, 12.36 volts. And now what we're most likely going to see is the left mid and rear leveler legs will come down, and as they do, we are seeing a nice 12.5 volts during that extension, and the fifth wheel raised up a little bit. And now the right side, which you can't see from here, the mid and rear leveler legs will extend, and we are seeing 12.6 volts during that entire operation of both the mid and rear jacks extending. And now the front to back will do one more correction and slightly raise the front just a little bit more. And as it does so, the panel will show a green dot, and there's our success beep. So you saw a good 12.5 volts the whole time during the auto level cycle, and that's what you want to see. So that's a quick poor man's way. If you don't have a second helper to help you, just get you a heavy enough piece of this is just an old extension cord I had, and I cut an old house extension cord. I cut the ends off of it just simply to set up this test. And when you're making tests like what we've been doing in this video, every once in a while you want to come over here and feel this pump motor and make sure that it's not getting too hot. If you do 2 or 3 cycles of the landing gear or the slide outs, you need to let this system rest and let this motor cool, so that when you touch it, that it's you know, just slightly warm or cool to the touch. So now what we're going to do is we're going to check the hydraulic pump motor and dual polarity as we extend my hydraulic slide outs. So again, we have the common negative lead is connected here to the center post on the dual polarity solenoid, which of course runs down to the frame. And we have the red lead which is running on this white wire over to my meter for testing purposes, and we are connected where you see the green wires, and these are the extend side of the solenoid, and one of these two wires runs up inside to the switch inside the panel inside the fifth wheel to open or close the slide outs. All three of my slides are hydraulic, so we'll go inside and monitor these slides. Right now they're closed, and so we want to extend them, and so we'll monitor the voltage during this extend cycle. Okay, as you can see, our slides are closed, so we're going to turn around to the panel, and we have our meter set inside, and you notice there's 0 volts being read currently right now. And we're going to go and put our finger up on the out position on the slide out switch, and so we're going to extend these slide outs while we monitor the voltage at the dual polarity solenoid and hydraulic pump motor. And so what we're seeing right now is a nice 12.5 volts DC. My front slide is extending right now, and here in just a moment the main slides will start to extend out, and we'll turn around and you can see that in fact the slides are extending. And we'll come back around to the panel here and looking at that meter, and we can see that we still have a nice 12.3 volts during the entire extend cycle on these slide outs. And so we can say that, okay, our slides in the extend out position, everything is working good. We've got good steady voltage over 12 volts, and that's what you want to see. And so now what we'll do is we'll change the connection out on that dual polarity solenoid, and we'll change it to the retract side on the solenoid so that we can measure the DC voltage at that hydraulic pump motor and solenoid as we retract these 3 hydraulic slide outs. And as you can see, we have quickly swapped over the lead. We took it off of the retract side or extend side, and now we're going to go to the right hand side of the solenoid where the yellow and white wires are, and this is the extend side of the dual polarity solenoid. So we'll go extend those slide outs and monitor the voltage. And always, I never get in a hurry when I'm going to retract these slides, so we just take a quick look-see and make sure that nothing got open, there's no cabinets open, and we'll turn around to the front panel, and you can see that we are showing 0 volts. And we're going to go up to the slide switch, and we're going to press the slide switch in, which will retract the slides. And so let's monitor that voltage as the slides start coming in. My bedroom slide is coming in right now, and we're reading nice 12.3 volts. And now the main slides are moving, and you hear a little squeal on my left slide there. I need to get just a little bit of dry lube on that. We're still maintaining a nice 12.1 volts, and it'll drop just a little bit, 11.9, and we're fully in. You saw the voltage drop off, and the reason that my voltage dropped there a little bit is I'm running strictly on battery power, no shore power. So I wanted to make this test with just battery power so that you can see what you should expect if you're running just off batteries. If I was running the converter with shore power on, that voltage would have stayed well above 12 volts the whole time. And so we'll wrap this video up on how to check your voltage, and I can feel after extending those slide outs and retracting them, the motor is a little warm. It's not hot, but it's considerably warmer than it was before. I've removed the wire that I had on the negative lead and tightened the screw back down, and you can see we've left no wires on the extend or retract side of the dual polarity solenoid. So that gives you a nice overview of a piece of wire like this that you see laying on the ground. It's about 20 feet long and a meter, and there are a lot of things that you can troubleshoot by yourself if you're out there having problems. And with some of the excellent advice you'll get from some of the other alpine owners on the Facebook group, I'm sure that we'll be able to help you out if you're patient and don't get frustrated.